Hello. All right. So we're going to skip to chapter number 11. So we're covering 12 chapters in all, which I think I've already told you that. Our topic today is what human resource management, the attracting, developing, and keeping the right people to get the job done. The right people will be the qualified people, right, to get the job done. So basically, that's the job of what human resources. All right, attracting, developing, and keeping. All right, it's not just hiring people. All right, so attracting, there are two categories here. You recruit, then you select. Now the selection is basically hiring. So you recruit, um, and then you hire the people, hire the employee. Then that's not the end of your job. You have to also develop your employee by doing what? By training them, right? So you train them, and then you also give them performance appraisal, all right? And then when you come to the last part, which is keeping, okay, you make the effort, of course, to keep your best employees. Um, so what do? You got to give them good incentives. You got to give them good compensation. You also got to give them good retirement program. But if it doesn't go well, what happens? You separate from that employee and go get somebody else. So there are federal laws, all right? There are federal laws in place with regards to that human resources got to follow to hire people. The whole purpose is to stop discrimination. As you all know, there is discrimination in the system. Um, we can't turn a blind eye on them or on it, and so the law states that the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits discrimination based on race, sex, religion, and national origin, right? But that is not the only law. There are laws against disability. If you are disabled, you should not be discriminated upon. There are laws against age. All right, just because you are 40 years and above, that don't mean that they shouldn't hire you. Um, there are laws against these days. There are laws against gender identity, and also getting people's genetic history. Yep. So you cannot discriminate based on race, sex, color, religion, national origin, disability, age, gender identity, and genetic history. There are also minimum laws, not minimum laws, minimum wage laws, right? Where of course you cannot pay anybody below I think the minimum wage is 7.25 at the federal level, at the state levels. Different states have different minimum wage laws, and also there is overtime laws. There are laws that require um, employers to keep records, right? To keep everything that they have, all the information that they have about employee, and also they give to employee. And there's also laws against youth unemployment. There are laws against youth unemployment. So you can only, as a youth, you can only work, you know, in a family business, in agriculture, or in entertainment when you are, below the age of 16. Um, so law requires that to avoid discrimination. So the law requires that you should hire people based on job related factors. All right. based on job related factors. So these factors should be necessary for the job. Now, earlier we said you cannot discriminate, but there are certain times that you may be able to discriminate, all right? And you may be able to discriminate based on what? Job necessity or business necessity. And this is called, this concept is called what? Bona fide occupational qualification. So under bona fide occupational qualification, yes, you are allowed to discriminate if it is necessary for the job. Example, if you want to hire a new pastor, you're a Methodist church, you want to hire a new pastor for the church, yes, you can discriminate based on what? Religion. You cannot go hire a Muslim. If a Muslim applies, you're going to say no, right? In the same way, it works, in the other direction, all right? Now, you're not going to hire, if you need a roofer, you wouldn't hire a female, right, to do that, that kind of job. That is, so in this case, you can actually discriminate, all right? It's called bona fide occupational qualification. Now, there are two types of discrimination. There is adverse impact, and there is disparate treatment. Disparate treatment is intentional. You intentionally discriminate against somebody, all right? And then adverse impact is not intentional, but it's just that your policies led to that kind of discrimination. So with disparate treatment, when they realize that you are getting old on the job, old people, they've been on the job for a long time, so they make quite more money, and also they're gonna hit retirement very soon, right? And so the employers want to discriminate against them. They want to, get them fired or stuff like that before before their retirement age. And so this is what happened at Staples. All right, they called this old guy, old Bobby Nickel, they called him old coot, old goat. And they literally harassed this guy, to try to make him quit. He did not quit. He filed a lawsuit against the employer, and he won. He won what, about $26 million. All right. Now, these discrimination laws are enforced mainly by the EEOC, that's the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Although the Department of Labor can also, enforce some. So with the adverse impact is what is unintentional discrimination. Most of the time, they want certain people to work in restaurants, in bars, right? They are bartenders. They want certain kind of women who are looking pretty, who are in shape and stuff, who are young, who are basically young. They're 21, 18, 19. Those are the kind of people they want. So when you are 40 years old or 50 years old and you apply, you don't get a job. That is the policy of most restaurants. You go to Texas Roadhouse and stuff, and so the people who applied, who are 40 years old and above, they filed a lawsuit with the EEOC, all right, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, and they found Texas Roadhouse guilty, and so they had to pay the people who they rejected, who they refused to hire. 40 years old, the 40-year-old and above, they paid them what, $12 million. So this money were was distributed to each and every person who above the age 40 who applied and did not get a job. The EEOC looks at what they call the 80 the 80% rule. The 80% rule, if let's say 100 black people applied, right? And then 100 white people applied. And you hire less than 20% of those black people, right? And the rest of the hire is what? White people. That means that there is what? There is, you've broken the 80% rule, all right? At least if you should hire about what? 20% of black people, and as against what, 80 of white people, which is still not a good what you call it um, number. But if it's below that, then we know that, oh, gosh, this is straight up discrimination, and so the EEOC is going to investigate your hiring practices and make sure you don't do that anymore, right? Because we need what? We don't want discrimination. We want the best people to get the job, and that's how it's supposed to be. All right, this is how you build a business. You don't build business based on hiring what your family members. You don't build business based on favoritism, based on cronyism. No, you build a business based on hiring the best performers to provide the best services for customers, to provide what the best services for the interest, to benefit the interest of what? Community. That's how societies grow. That's how countries grow. All right, people went to school just like you put in the effort. Now you out there looking for a job, you can't get a job, and somebody who didn't put in any effort, who maybe only got a high school diploma and stuff, they're the ones who are getting hired, or they don't even have any high school diploma at all. How are you gonna feel about that? That in the broader picture is that a country cannot move forward if that is the case. It stifles everything. Sexual harassment is also a form of discrimination. It is discrimination, all right? If you are, what is sexual harassment? Repeated unwelcome advances of a sexual nature. Make sure it is what? It is repeated. You saying things that somebody does not like. Okay, just stop it. Move on. All right. Most jobs don't even allow their employees to get married or to have a relationship. Okay, because we kind of start leads to performance issues and leads to favoritism and stuff. So if your boss is your wife or your husband, they're gonna treat you differently, right? So a lot of jobs do not allow that. Sexual discrimination could of course be 10 hostile, which is more or less. Well, we're gonna come to that. So sexual discrimination could be what? Verbal or physical. We can give so many examples of that, which I'm sure you guys already know. There was a case where this woman, Rachel, was called Rachel 2.0. The boss was referring to how big she was, and stuff like that. She didn't take kindly to that. She wasn't Rachel. They were saying that she was a bigger version of Rachel. Some people are out there, when somebody asks for help, they say, okay, before I give you help, then you gotta send me pictures of your different body parts. All right. These are all forms of sexual harassment. All right, so there are two kinds of sexual harassment: quid pro quo and hostile work environment. Quid pro quo is linking what job sex to economic outcome. So it's like, you do this for me, I'll do this for you. You welcome my sexual advances. That is the only time that I'm gonna promote you. I'm gonna increase your pay, or even I'm gonna hire you. All right. So this happened at Stones Rivers Medical Group, where this doctor hired this assistant, office assistant, and he wanted to have sex with her all the time. Matter of fact, they got it on. But at a point in time, the woman who was already married was like, "No, right? This is not good. I do not want this anymore." And the doctor said, "No. In that case, then I'm gonna fire you. All right? I'm not gonna pay you, and I'm gonna fire you." So so he actually got her fired. And since she couldn't find any job, she came back. When she came back, he was like, "No, okay, then we gotta continue, with our sex escapade." And so she eventually, had enough, and then filed a lawsuit, which she actually won. So 2.3 million, right? She wanted to be hired, based, to get promotion and everything based on her performance, and not all this sex. All right, so a hostile work environment, occurs when people start making demeaning gestures and languages, and other actions of a sexual nature, or even if it's not of sexual nature, it could be also, um, create an unfriendly environment, a hostile environment, intimidating environment. So if any reasonable person finds that situation to be unreasonable, to be hostile, right, then it is considered a hostile, work environment. Okay. Um, all right. So in this case, an example is an IT guy who was asked for help, this female, and he said, "Okay, the only way I'm going to give you help is if you send me a picture of your body parts that are not exposed, right? That are not exposed in public." So this is what um, constitutes what a hostile work environment. You keep on harassing the person, you keep on intimidating the person, and the person keeps on fighting back. "No, I don't want this." And it leads to what? And insults, leads to bullying. It leads to looking at the person the wrong way. It creates all kind of things. So we don't want that. So how do we stop sexual harassment? Of course, there are sexual harassment laws, right? There are sexual harassment laws, and this needs to be, um, you know, known to all employees. The employer got to make sure that all the employees are well trained on this. All they are aware of it. Whenever there is any sexual harassment report, as a manager, you have to act fast. Take everything seriously. All right. Do not sit down and wait. Otherwise, it's gonna turn into something else, a bigger problem. And these days, the law states that if there is any sexual harassment of any kind, it's not only the person who perpetrated, the crime, or who it is also goes against what the employer. All right, so the employer is fined too. Okay, is gonna get fined. So where I used to work at, these things, we have anonymous, what you call it, lines, phone lines, where you can call to make complaints, and so people call, and they remain what, anonymous. They are yep. So you have to respond when it's reported. You encourage people to report it. These days, you have a lot of cameras in the workplace, so we know exactly what is going on, right? If anything, we're gonna check it. We're gonna warn you. But then again, you have to write sexual policies. Um, what sexual harassment policies. You have to be able to write it clearly in clear language and everything, and post it out there on the walls where everybody can see. All right, and everybody can understand. Okay, and yep, and make sure that you don't retaliate to people who reported to you. They rather become the bad people, and it happens all the time. They're like, "Oh, you're a troublemaker." No, you're not a troublemaker. There's something going on. Somebody is constantly making comments about you. Um, whether it's nice or not nice or something, but you personally, you don't welcome it. So the person should stop. You didn't come there for that. You came there to work. All right. You are what? A customer service rep. This is exactly what you want to do. Everything has to be what? Professional. Be done in a professional environment. Everybody has to be respected. All right. So that is that. All right, so those are the laws. And so, like I said, the job of a human resource person starts with what? Recruiting. Recruiting is the process of what? Developing what? A pool of qualified job applicants, right? So, you have a whole lot of people to choose from. Um, yeah. Um, Yeah, so that is recruiting. Recruiting is different from hiring. So after you assemble this group of qualified people, then you select or you hire them. You hire people from them. So make sure you understand this. Recruiting is not hiring. It's just assembling a pool of what qualified job applicants, potential job applicants, um, stuff. So how do you recruit them, or how do you attract them in the first place to the job? um, you first have to what? Define the job, what a job entails. So you perform a job analysis. All right, a job analysis is a systematic process of providing information um, about the job, what people are supposed to be doing on the job. That is basically um, what information has to be out there. So you providing what work activities, what the people are going to be using, the tools, um, whether they're going to be lifting or not lifting, standing or not standing, what is selling this or lecturing or doing this. You have to be able to provide that in a job analysis. You have to be able to provide the skills and knowledge and ability that is required to get the job done, right? So with job analysis, of course, there are two parts: the job description and then the job specification. With a job description, you informing people about what a job entails, all right, the responsibilities, the tasks of the job. And then with a job specification, the qualification required to do the job. All right, so what else? Of course, there's internal recruiting and there is what? External recruiting. Why should we do internal recruiting? Because first of all, you want to provide a pathway, a career path to employees. This encourages them, so they know that I'm going to rise through the ranks. I'm going to be promoted. Eventually, I'm going to be the project manager. Then I'm going to be the I started from operations manager. Well, I started from just being a supervisor. Now I'm the operations manager, and now I rise to probably regional manager. Now I am a district manager first, regional manager, and stuff. So that you're gonna get promoted. This encourages you to perform at your best, and this also is an incentive for you to stay on the job, right? But then there is also external recruiting. If you can find somebody within the job, or just some people, some employers just want to do what go hire externally. That is because they want diversity, or they want creativity. They want somebody else who comes in with with a different let's say skill level or different knowledge level that can change things, because things have become the same way, right? And so we go to the selection process. That's the hiring process. Sometimes it takes one day, sometimes it takes up to 35 days. Because there are so many things from the initial phone call where they want to find out, about you, your understanding of the job, your background, what you've done, why you're interested in the job, right? So they do that, the initial phone call, and then to hiring you eventually after they've done so many things. All right, so okay, the first thing to do is what you fill out an application, right? You fill out an application, then you send your resume, and then you sit and wait. All right, so why do you have to have an application and a resume? Is it not the same thing? Basically, yes, it is the same thing, but every human resource department wants to, do things according to their way. So we're filling out the application form. They want specific information, which they may not get in the resume. All right. The law states that there are certain things that you cannot ask. Okay, you cannot ask anybody if they have children or not. That is why you're asking me if I have children. They do that because they want to know if you're gonna have time, a lot of time, for the job, or you're gonna be calling in with so many excuses, right? They also age. You shouldn't ask of anybody's age, not even their year of graduating high school, because if you tell them what year you graduated high school, of course they're gonna know your age. Age discrimination is illegal. So why would you ask for? Of course, you shouldn't ask anybody for their disability status. All right, until you've hired the person, and then you provide, accommodation, or if you think that okay, their disability is going to prevent them from doing the job, then okay, you hire somebody else. You cannot ask the person of their physical characteristics, which is basically your shape, your size, your color, and all that. Nope. But these days, but I tell you, they do, because they ask it and say it's voluntary, right? They want you to put it in there voluntarily, so they still ask you, your race. Are you Hispanic or are you black and stuff like that? You're not supposed to ask of anybody's maiden name. That also goes back to what? National origin. So if I say my name is Nakaya, or Hashimoto, they know that I'm from Japan. This mainly applies to what? Women, right? They're not supposed to know. And so you discriminating based on what? National origin. You're not supposed to ask a person of their citizenship. You're not supposed to ask anybody if they have filed lawsuits, right? Because what? Um, because whistleblowing is encouraged. If I filed lawsuit against my former employer, they might say that, oh, I'm a troublemaker, so they don't want to hire me, right? So you're not supposed to be doing that. You're not supposed to ask people for their arrest records because arrest is irrelevant. Just because you are arrested, that don't mean that you're guilty. No, you can ask, the person for their if they have any um, criminal records, though, and do your investigation accordingly. You're not supposed to ask somebody if they smoke or not, because smoking is legal, right? If you don't allow smoking inside of your job place, this person can still smoke outside, right? They can still take smoke breaks and go outside. You're not supposed to ask anybody of their HIV or AIDS status, because that is also considered a disability. So it's against the disability laws. You're not supposed to ask anybody of their religion, of course. And genetic information. When they ask for genetic information, they try to know your family history of what diseases and stuff. And so that is going to affect their health insurance policy. And so they're not going to hire you based on that. So all these things are illegal. You're not supposed to ask them on the application form during the interview. You're not, all right, and stuff. Okay, so of course they check your resume, but resume checking, resume is mostly what embellished, right? People lie on their resumes, and so um, that is why there is the need for them to perform references and background checks. So number two on the list, from filling out the application forms and sending your resume is for human resource to perform background check on you, and also your references. They get in contact with people who know you professionally. Most of the time, it's not private anymore. First it used to be just anybody who can attest to who you are, but they find out that is also becoming fake, right? Because they are your friends. So now it's a professional. They can check. They also check your background, right? They call your former employers, but these days the former employers don't even want to provide any information for fear of getting what a defamation lawsuit. Okay, I quit that job because of so many things with management and stuff. But then when you call them to ask that information, they're not going to tell you that it was their fault, right? It's because of poor management. They're going to tell you, oh, he or she didn't do a good job and stuff. So all these things, um, come into play. A savvy employer can know what to do to avoid all these shenanigans. Basically, um, so with your background, they check your DMV record, your prior employers, your educational background, your court records, right, and police and government records and stuff. Now there is a company called CheckR. CheckR, that's about 800. They said 800,000 background checks. Is it a day or something? But they do a good job, so they're gonna provide your whether you have a criminal record, child child offender registry. If you are on there, they're gonna check your DMV records and stuff like that, and they come up with a lot of information about you. If you don't do the background checks, you might do what? Negligent hiring. All right, negligent hiring is you hire the wrong person, and the person may be a danger to society, um, and and stuff. So it's good to check somebody's background, their DMV record, their police records, right? Their federal, um, you know, law enforcement record is very important, whether they are not on the sex offender registry and all that. So then in the selection, after you check the background, you can also administer a test. There are two tests. Is it two tests? No, three. The first one is your specific ability test, which is also called, excuse me, which is also called specific aptitude test. Aptitude is what is your skill level. So your ability to perform the job, the specific job that they put in front of you. All right. You say you are a mechanic, right? So they're gonna give you a test based on you know things that mechanics should know. Um, when you are going to college, they ask you, you have to take the SAT, which is what the scholastic aptitude test. So they want to check how prepared you are to be able to do whatever program that you've chosen. Whatever you've chosen to be to do business, they want to ask you a few questions about that, right? Whether you're gonna be able to do math very well, and stuff. The second one is cognitive ability test, which is mainly what employers look for, because the cognitive ability test your level of intelligence, your general level of intelligence. All right, that is your ability to reason, your ability to read and understand and apply what you have read. Find if there is a problem, you are able to come up with solutions real quick. You're a thinker. You're able to get a job to get the job done without any supervision. You have what high, you're able to do everything. You understand math. You can read well, read and understand and do well. You can also understand what spatial dimensions, right, and stuff like that. So people who have this, who are able to score high on the cognitive ability test, they are able to solve. It means that they're able to solve complex problems. They are able to learn new things. They are able to, um, make good decisions on the job. They have a high IQ. All right. Now there is another one called the biographical data test, where they ask for your background, your interest, your hobbies, what you have done in the past. This was done mainly. It was used by the Air Force, right? The United States Air Force. They wanted to hire the best pilots. They did all the other tests, but then they still wanted some more, and so they started this biographical data to find out. Okay, so have you ever developed built an airplane, and when you built it, did it fly? Stuff like that, right? Yep. Also ask, okay, I mean, what kind of if they ask you what kind of movies have you watched, you might think that is just a general question, but then there are some flight movies and stuff. So if you are so much interested in that, they're gonna expose that real quick. The fourth one is your personality test. What is personality? Um, your relative stable set of behavior, abilities, and emotions. All right, you cannot be too emotional. You cannot have an attitude. An attitude is the way you react to things. To certain situations, the way you handle certain things. Are you gonna handle it with with openness, with stuff. Yep, with knowing that okay, you want to learn, or you're gonna handle it with with a high level of arrogance. So that is that. They do that test because they also want to find out whether you are a cultural fit, whether you are when they give you extra work, you're not gonna be like, this ain't what I'm supposed to do, and blah blah blah. All right. The fifth one is what work sample test. So you are asked to provide your work sample. When I was getting hired here, this is done especially, at the when hiring professors, they ask for things that you've done in the past. Some of the things that I've written, some articles that I've written, right? Yep, they ask for it. Also, another example is for a pharmacist, where they might ask you to consult medical databases and accurately fill prescriptions. All right. So have you done that before? Let's come in. Let's show us your work sample with regards to that. They also have assessment centers. So that's number six. Assessment centers where they give you like a simulation of situations, and then they ask you to solve problems. All right. So from there, then the interviews. All right. The interviews start. Of course, you know what you're not supposed to ask and what you're supposed to ask. There are unstructured interviews where you already have planned set of questions based. You ask questions based on the person's knowledge, skills, and ability. Those are the three main things that you should focus on. Don't be focusing on other things, right? So structured interview is what is planned interview. Have a set of questions. Unstructured is not planned. So you just come in and you ask certain questions off the top of your head. The person provides an answer, and then you follow up. It's more of a relaxed atmosphere. You ask questions based on what the interviewee is giving to you, right? So what did you do in this situation? So and then you ask, anything that comes on the top of your head. And then semi-structured, of course, is a hybrid between structured and unstructured. So you have, a few planned questions, but then you also ask follow-up questions based on what the interviewee is given to you. All right, there are guidelines to do a good interview. First of all, you plan the interview ahead of time. Of course, you have your, if you want to do even unstructured, you still got to plan certain questions that you're gonna ask right in the beginning before you follow up with those things. With what a person is saying, and yeah, so the question should be based on what, again, your knowledge, the person's knowledge, the person's skills, and the person's ability to do the job. Conducting interviews is supposed to create a relaxed atmosphere. Explain the job details. Provide a job analysis. What is required, right? What is expected of the employee, potential employee, and you can offer. So yep. So you tell them what a job entails, what you expect from them, and stuff, and try to create a relaxed atmosphere. Like I said, a loving atmosphere, not a very strict atmosphere, which is going to make the person uncomfortable, right? If you make them uncomfortable, they're not going to be able to say what they want to say, to come forth with whatever they want to say. All right. After the interview, of course, you check your notes to find out if they tick all the boxes, and then you go on to make your final decision from there. All right. So the next job the next task of a human resource manager is what? Is to train, develop the skills of your employees. This is very important in many jobs, Verizon, Apple, they train you, um, to be able to do the job well, to be able to do the job according to their standards, according to their expectations. But first of all, there needs to be what? Before you train somebody, there need to be um, the need assessment. So if the person doesn't need that training, why would you get a person in to train the person? So that's why there's the need there's a need for need assessment, right? Which borders on whether there is a deficiency, whether the person is not performing well. Um, Also, listening to customer complaints, by the mistakes that the people are making on the job, and all these things. All right. Or maybe you just want to improve the person's skills. That's also you train them further, better. There is a new technology out there, so you want to train people. All right. So there are so many training methods, all right, to impart knowledge. Which is what we do here. Matter of fact, with this lecturing. So to impart knowledge, you lecture. You have what? Lecture notes, which also includes what good books, good explanation of what of knowledge. You simplify it, of course. You also watch what videos, and you also have readings and stuff. And then we also, if you want to impart what analytical and problem solving skills, you do case studies. All right. You do case studies and also coaching group discussions. Um, yeah. So you do that with the lecture. Back to number one, with to impart knowledge, you also have to um, get the students to know, or get the trainees to know a problem and how the problem can be solved. So basically, when you are in school, you are being taught all these things. All right. So the objective of training is what? Is to change your behavior, or get you to improve. All right. And how do you know whether the training went very well? By the reaction of people, by whether they've changed their behavior or not, by whether there's improved performance, sales performance and stuff. So that is basically what it is. All right. In order to develop employees, there's also what? Performance appraisal, right? Um, yep. So you have a performance appraisal, which is um, assessing how well the employees are doing on the job. So you provide them with a whole lot of feedback. All right. Why do you need this performance appraisal? Because in order to also be able to train them very well, or to give them rewards, right? So it's administrative and as well as developmental, and also to find out if the hiring process itself is good, because you brought these people in. You realize, based on certain things that you've done, based on certain criteria, based on the test that they've performed, and then they come in and you realize they don't know anything. So that means that your hiring process is flawed, right? So you you check you do performance appraisal to find out what went wrong. And also, performance appraisal is done just for documentation purposes. You have to keep things documented. All right. All right. So, how to accurately measure job performance? There are doubts. There are doubts about all these performance appraisal. Employees are not convinced that they're not doing such a good job like the managers are saying. The managers themselves don't even want to um, do these performance appraisal um, because it's kind of difficult to go out there and tell this person that, hey, you're not doing a good job. So um, do this. Do it creates sort of an atmosphere, an unmotivated atmosphere when you after people have put in a whole lot of effort and you tell them, ah, just go ahead and criticize them all the time. It creates a difficult situation. So um, with job um, performance appraisal, you have to be objective. So you have to have some objective measure, right? Where basically you're measuring the person's output, which is easier when you are in sales or when you are in production. How many things have you produced? Are you, or even if you are a teacher, a professor, right? I mean, how many days did you miss? How many chapters have you covered? And stuff like that. So you are basically very objective, right? Are you late to work all the time? All these things come into place. But of course, you cannot use only objectivity. You have to use what? Subjectivity too. So subjectivity is based on what your own the manager's what opinion of you, which sometimes if they don't like you, then you're just gonna write something that is not good, right, about you, and you cannot make everybody like you. So they hope that objectivity can be combined with what subjectivity. So subjectivity should also be based on um, a graphic rating scale where you measure the quality of the person's job, or their logical skills, how they are able to help, are they helpful, you just measuring all these things. There's also the observational um, behavioral observation scale where you just watch the way people behave on the job. In this case, you're checking for person's personality. The person is moody all the time, being arrogant to other employees, especially or to customers. Oh my God! So you are being watched. These days, managers don't have to be there physically watching. Of course, they can use a camera, right? So you are, so they're watching you when they come in with, when the managers are giving you another extra job, the way your attitude towards it, right? All these things come into play. It is also very important to for the people who do the performance appraisal to receive training. So there has to be training because these people are the judges, right? So a judge has to be very well trained to remove any subjectivity. All right. How do you share this performance appraisal feedback? All right. If you're not careful, right, again, you're gonna demoralize people, and they would want to quit because they don't see, you just are too critical. So instead of doing destructive criticism, where you're just telling the people, "Oh, you wrong, you wrong, you wrong on this," be more, be do constructive criticism. Aimed at what, helping the person out. It's like, "Oh, I think we should do this. You should do this way. You did a very good job here, but with here, I think if you do it this way, it is better," right? So constructive criticism. There are some people who are suggesting also that let the employees themselves evaluate them, evaluate their job performance. They should come up with their strength, weakness, and stuff, and also their future goals, or their future, what they think they can do to better themselves, right, in the future. There is also the 360 degrees performance appraisal, where you get performance appraisal from your colleagues, your subordinates, of course, your boss, and yourself. So it doesn't have to be only the boss who is evaluating you, and some of them, if they don't like you, then you are in deep trouble. Or if you are the boss, don't do that. Don't be that subject. Be fair. It's business, right? It's not personal. All right. Now, compensation. Compensation is what the financial and non-financial rewards that they give to you. All right. Some people are getting paid a whole lot of money, and they also get certain, things like free cell phone, free cars, and they just give them gift, free trips, free vacation trips. Vacation is paid for, right? These are all compensation. How is compensation determined? We have the compensation decisions are based on what? Is one pay level decision. Pay level decision is a market-based decision where you pay your employees according to the market. You decide to pay them above the market or below the market, right? Pay variability is based on their performance, right? If they're doing a good job, you pay them according to that. If they're not doing a good job, you don't pay them, of course. And then pay structure, which is based on seniority. So if I am your boss, I'm supposed to get this amount of money. You can't be making more money than me, right? It's also based on seniority. All right. Okay. So the final part is, how you separate from these employees. Some people are going to give you their life, their lifetime. They'll be working there for 40, 50 years, right? So how do you separate from them? Of course, you give them good retirement benefit. All right. In certain cases, you phase out the employee. All right. So you gradually make the employee retire by cutting down, first of all, cutting down on the hours, and then making them part-time, and then eventually they retire. Or in certain cases too, you just give them a good retirement plan, and tell them, okay, you can go on early retirement, right? Because you are aging, and so we're going to give you a good incentive for you to be able to retire early. All right. Termination. If you terminated from the job, that means you fired. All right. If you if there is so there's turnover, and there is termination, and there's turnover. Termination means you fired. Turnover means you quit. All right. Make no mistake about that. All right. So there is functional turnover. Functional turnover is a situation where people who are not performing well decide to quit. So you like, okay, good riddance. That's functional. That's a good thing. Dysfunctional is when you are losing your best employees. So you know that you're doing something wrong. They're not happy about so many things that are going on. So you try to cut down on dysfunctional turnover. All right, so this is our lecture for today. This covered chapter 11, human resource. We're going to be doing, I think, chapter 12, and then, like I said, 2 more, and then we are almost there. All right, so stay put, be happy. It takes time. You're going to get to your end goal. All right, and you're going to get your degree if you do everything well, if you are able to study hard, and remember, the test is coming on very soon. All right, take care. All right, bye-bye.